Hello everyone. Today I will tell you four scary stories. First story. Hello, my name is Max. I decided to share with you a terrifying incident that happened to me a few months ago. This story began after I received a strange anonymous message to my email address. The letter contained no information about who sent it, no text, except for one heading. Soon you will know the truth. I chalked it up to some kind of joke and ignored it. But a few days later, I found another anonymous message with a photo of an old abandoned house. This house was a place where I spent a lot of time as a child, and a place that none of my friends knew about. I was worried because I had not told anyone about my memories of that house. The next letter contained the address of this house and an invitation to come there. I couldn't resist my curiosity and decided to visit this place. When I approached the house, it looked even more abandoned and scary than before. The door was broken, and I entered. There was a gloomy atmosphere inside, and I felt that someone was watching me. Suddenly, on the floor, I noticed an old newspaper with headlines about several people who had disappeared in recent decades. The stories of disappearances seemed relatively incredible, but they somehow connected with my childhood memories and this abandoned house. At that moment, I realized that I had been brought here for a reason, and I decided to conduct my own investigation. Every day I came to this house and studied more and more details. I discovered hidden vaults, old records, and documents that linked recent disappearances to this location. My research attracted the attention of some dark group, and I began to feel that my life was in danger. As I uncovered more details, my life became increasingly stressful. Finally, I found evidence that indicated that some secret organization was using this house as their hidden hideout for their dark activities. When I decided to share my findings with the police, I was attacked and stunned. I woke up in a dark room, tied up and without hope. A voice in the darkness whispered, "You've gone too far, Max. Now you'll be here forever." And at that moment I realized that I had become a victim of the mysterious group that I was trying to expose. My fate remained unknown, and my story ends here. Remember that the truth may be worse than you imagine, and be careful what you explore. Several days passed, and I found myself in a dark and cold underground chamber, where even time seemed to stand still. I was tormented by absolute darkness and uncertainty. I was trying to understand what happened and how I could get out of here. However, at one moment, my camera was illuminated by a bright light, and I heard the footsteps of approaching people. Some masked figures in black clothes entered and tore my ropes. I was dragged out of my cell and forced to walk through dark corridors. I could not see the faces of these people. Their silence and cruelty increased my anxiety. They took me to a room where I found an old marble table with several historical artifacts. However, there was something on the wall that caught my attention. A list of names, including my own, among those who had disappeared. One of them told me that they are part of an ancient and mysterious cult that has been studying disappearances and ancient secrets for centuries. They learned of my investigations and decided to take me hostage to force me to help them solve one of the biggest mysteries in history. Their story turned out to be much worse than I could have imagined. This cult, known as the Shadowseers, claimed that a secret area beneath the house was the site of experiments involving portals to other dimensions. They assured me that many of the people who disappeared were simply prisoners of these portals. Under their control, I was forced to help them search for clues to solve this riddle. I spent months, perhaps years, working with them to unravel the artifacts and uncover the secrets of the house. All this time I had to balance on the line between cooperation and trying to escape. However, one day, when I found some ancient book that could reveal the secrets of the portals, I was surprised by its contents. There was no information about portals inside it. Instead, she said that the cult of the Shadowseers was a portal organization in itself, and their goal was to open a portal to the world of immortality. By faking interest and friendliness, I began to undermine their plans, trying to expose them to the outside world. However, my attempt failed, and I was again returned to the dark cells. Here I am now, writing this message, not knowing what will happen to me next. My research and attempts to expose the shadow seers have led me to the very center of this dark mystery, and I pray that my words will reach you so that someone can uncover this terrible secret and stop the shadow seers forever. Second story. Friends, today I want to share with you a terrifying story that happened to me just a few days ago. My name is Dan, and I was sitting in my room as usual, editing videos for my YouTube channel about strange and unknown phenomena. This evening, however, began to differ from all previous ones. It was already late when I received a strange message on social networks. No sender name, just a link to the video. When I clicked on the link, a video appeared in front of me without any information about who created it. The screen showed some kind of decrepit, old room with a gloomy interior. The camera moved slowly, as if it was being held by someone very worried. Suddenly, the frame stopped and I saw my room. My bed, the monitor, even me sitting at the computer. Everything was exactly the same as in real life. Panic overtook me and I tried to turn off the video, but it continued to play. Fear and disbelief led me to try to call for help, but my phone and computer were inaccessible. It was like a nightmare. I was a prisoner in my own room. Suddenly, the screen began to flicker, and there appeared the face of a man with a black mask covering his eyes and mouth. The mask was indifferent, devoid of human features, and it gave me goosebumps. He didn't make a sound, but only slowly tilted his head, as if assessing me. And then something terrible happened. A call from him sounded on my computer. I didn't dare pick up the phone, but I saw my room again on the screen, and he began to move his hand towards the phone, as if ordering me to answer. Shaking with fear, I picked up the phone. The voice from the other side sounded distorted and ominous. "You shouldn't have looked," he whispered. "Now you are here, at my mercy." He began to describe my actions over the past few hours, as if he had been watching my every move. It was impossible. I started asking questions, but he just silently looked at me through the camera. I felt like prey in front of a predator. Then he took a knife that was lying on my table and began to slowly cut the bed. I realized that it was a picturesque bed in his room, and he was doing it right before my eyes. This moment was absolutely terrifying. After that, he simply disappeared and the video ended. I remained sitting in the gloomy room, knowing that the man could return at any moment. I still don't understand what happened or who this person is. This story has given me some sleepless nights, and I hope my sacrifice of watching this story was not in vain. Be careful, friends, because sometimes our worst nightmares can come true. After closing all the doors in the room and making sure they were securely locked, I began to feel a little relief. But this feeling did not last long, as suddenly a terrible grinding of metal was heard. Someone was trying to break into the room. My heart raced, and I pressed myself against the wall, trying to figure out what to do next. The sounds became louder and closer, and it seemed as if the door was almost forced open. I looked around the room for something that could help me. My gaze fell on the window, and without hesitation I decided to get out through it. My strength was almost leaving me when I came to the window. I jumped out into the street, barely breaking the glass in the process, and ran away as fast as I could. My only goal now was to get to the nearest police and tell them about the terrible situation that had just happened. It was night outside, and it was difficult to see in the darkness, but I ran without looking back. As I approached the corner, I heard footsteps, and when I turned around, I saw a man with a black mask and a knife in his hand who was following me. He didn't say a word, but his intentions were clear. I ran faster and went deeper into the dark alley, hoping that I could hide. My heartbeat was pounding loudly in my ears, each noise more terrifying than the last. I found a way out of the alley and ran out into the street, where I managed to find a passerby who helped me call the police. They arrived quickly and began an investigation, but when we returned to my room, the maniac had disappeared. He left traces of his presence, but ran away, leaving me in horror and fear. Since then I have lived in constant tension, not knowing when this maniac might return. This story changed my life, and now I am constantly wary that next time I may not be so successful in escaping a death trap. I hope my story serves as a warning to others to be careful when they receive strange messages or encounter unknown threats. Third story. Hello, my name is Michael and I run my own YouTube channel dedicated to horror stories. Today I want to share with you a story that happened recently and touched me very deeply. It started when one day when I was checking my mail and messages from subscribers, I noticed a strange email address with the name darkscret666@gmail.com. The message was short and cryptic. Michael, I have a scary story to tell you. Please contact me. I have always had a great desire to share scary stories on my channel, and I often communicate with subscribers. However, this email address struck me as mysterious. The name darkscret666 made him even more mysterious. I decided to send a response and received a response letter the same day. The stranger introduced himself as Daniel and said that he had a story connected with an abandoned house in the forest. He claimed that strange and incomprehensible events had happened in this house, and he wanted me to come and help him uncover the secret of this place. Curiosity pricked me, and I agreed to meet Daniel and explore the house. We agreed to meet at a local coffee shop to discuss the details. The meeting was tense, and Daniel looked anxious and scared. He told me that the house was a place where his friends came to do paranormal research, and he said they discovered something incredible. Strange noises were heard in the house, ghosts were seen, and his friends began to have strange nightmares. Listening to his story, I was filled with excitement. I decided to go with him to this place and film everything to share on my channel. Upon arrival at the house, we began to investigate it using cameras and electromagnetic field detectors. For several hours, nothing happened, and I began to doubt the veracity of Daniel's story. But then, when we were in the basement, something strange began. My cameraman began to experience severe lightheadedness and a headache, and I heard rustling and whispering. We turned on the cameras and started recording. And suddenly, an image appeared before us, at first invisible, and then taking the form of a foggy silhouette. We saw the fog move and take the form of a person. It was something incredible, and my hands shook with fear. The mysterious figure began to whisper strange and incomprehensible words to us, and we could not make out them. My cameraman suddenly lost consciousness, and I realized that we needed to immediately get out of this place. We ran out of the house, and in the car we realized what had happened. Our camera recorded the event, but the video does not capture the eerie atmosphere and strangeness we experienced. Since then, I could not forget what I saw in that abandoned house. This story changed the way I think about paranormal research, and I realized that some mysteries are better left unsolved. After this incident, I decided not to return to that abandoned house and leave this story in the past. But the terrible secret of this place did not let me go, and I began to study its history. It turned out that the house was built many years ago and is associated with several unexplained disappearances. Residents of the local village said that this place was cursed and that evil spirits lived in it. Less than a month later, I started receiving strange calls from unknown numbers. The voice on the other end of the line whispered incomprehensible messages and threats. I felt like I was being pursued by something dark and sinister. Slowly, my nightmares began to become reality. At night, when I was sleeping, I felt that someone was breathing in my face, but when I woke up, no one was in the room. I saw ghostly shadows, heard footsteps in an empty room, and it drove me to hysterics. One day, I decided to conduct one last study in an abandoned house in order to forever understand its mystery and close this chapter of my life. When I returned to it, I felt that there was something waiting for me. As I climbed the stairs to the second floor, I heard rustling and footsteps behind me. I turned around and saw a ghostly figure come close to me. Her eyes were filled with malice, and she whispered, "You couldn't leave this place, Michael. You're here now forever." And so, the dark entity swallowed me, and my life ended inside this damned house. My soul now wanders among ghosts, and the story I told became a warning to everyone who was going to delve into the world of mysticism and terrible secrets. After all, sometimes the price for knowledge is too high. Fourth story.